It's not the front door nor the back door. It's always the window for me. And so comparison has never worked in my life and has never worked to compare myself to the person next to me nor to the people that I aspire to be, only getting inspiration from them. That is, I think, the key to success, to really feel fulfilled. And I think that that is something I can say, and to feel like you're going and have momentum in some direction. The best thing to do is to get inspired and to surround yourself with people that truly inspire you to get there, and to be creative on your way to that mission. Now we have a Substack that comes out every week talking about trends and things that are going on in the industry and how the future of luxury is developing. It's all about projecting new scenarios and testing and having what-if scenarios really lead different creative pathways to where we're going with this industry. So I'll tell you a little bit about, since the beginning, how my life has started. Welcome to Beyond Luxury, where we explore emerging trends and take them one step further. Join us as we redefine the meaning of luxury in today's ever-evolving world. Building on the themes of my book, Beyond Luxury, The Promise of Emotion, we invite thought leaders from fashion, beauty, wellness, travel, hospitality, culture, and tech to share their insights and story. Welcome to Part 2. If you haven't caught up with Part 1 yet, I highly recommend starting there. It sets the stage for everything we're about to explore. Let's get right back into it. And so this is kind of how my life started moving in the world of luxury. I started off with a beauty position, which then I pivoted into an innovation position through a project I started doing with augmented reality that was coined very innovative at the time. And I kept on doing that project with augmented reality, especially during COVID. That was very important to try to live and experience what luxury was, even if you couldn't leave your home. And then from there, we started doing a lot more projects around tech and how we could help Chanel as a company. And that's when we started having bigger projects and doing more projects and doing proof of concepts for different technologies and different things that could come into the house to help us go forward, especially in these times. And that's when, slowly but surely, an innovation team started to be built. There was an innovation team in Europe, in the US, one in Asia, and none in Europe. And so basically, that's when I, without really knowing it, started creating the innovation team that then would become the innovation team in Europe. And that was a beautiful process where it was very much entrepreneurship, doing a lot of different projects with a lot of different teams around in Europe and liaising with different innovation teams around the world at Chanel as well. And then from that, pivoted into the global innovation team that was based in London at the time, basically working on new concepts and what it meant for the house to move forward with different concepts that could actually help the next years of the house develop. In parallel of all of this, because I do have a tendency of obsessing over concepts and ideas, in 2019, when I started working at Chanel, I started working on my second book, although I promised myself I would never write a second book right after publishing the first one. It was one of the hardest processes I had ever gone through to publish the first book. And I really told myself I won't do this again until a long time passes. And COVID-19 hit, and there was all my weekends were just spent at home, not really knowing what to do. And I had been spiraling down on what does it mean to have a luxury industry in the future? What does luxury mean when there's all of these people in the hospital? What does luxury mean when people can't breathe? What does luxury mean when we don't know when we'll be able to see our loved ones again? What does luxury mean when we can't have human connection because we're locked into our homes? So I know I might be bringing you back to this really weird moment where we had these huge lockdowns at that time. But this was really the spiral I was going down in, and started without realizing contacting people in the future of tech, in the future of entertainment, in the future of sustainability, in the future of human experience, in the future of at the time, there was not that many people looking at the future of luxury, but I was talking to people that were looking at trends and how the luxury industry was going to move forward. And I found it absolutely fascinating to, at a time where no one spoke about AI, to be talking to the top people in AI, in the moment that no one spoke about what even augmented reality, mixed reality I started speaking with people. And that's actually a way that I started doing a project on augmented reality within Chanel. And so I had this kind of like parallel life where I was talking to all these people, and my editor reached out to me again, another serendipitous moment, randomly asking me, hey, we have a bunch of authors that are bored at home and have asked us to write a second book. Your book performed pretty well. Do you want to do a second one? And so it was kind of like a divine intervention. I was like, yes, I've been interviewing people kind of how I used to, and you would give me a purpose on my weekends because honestly, right now, I don't really know what to do with myself. And so I started writing the second book. Little did I know that everything would speed up very quickly and work would, all of a sudden I was creating a team and was working on many different projects, and on the weekends still was doing this. And then social life came back on. And so now I had to juggle all these things. But it was one of the most enriching experiences because now I was not only right off of college interviewing people in the beauty industry to understand, I was actually working in an industry, and I was bringing on all of this extra knowledge to really bringing on advisors as well to come on to even my team. So I was really like bringing these two worlds together to really push forward. What did the future of the luxury industry mean, and where were we going as an industry as a whole? And so basically, this is kind of the path that led me to write the second book. The second book took me 3 years to write instead of one, because I had a job that was in parallel and a lot of things in between. But basically, when I was ready to publish this book in 2023, that's when I ended up leaving Chanel and really following this path of, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And although actually before getting this call from the person that had called me in to be on his team at Chanel, I was going to work for a startup, and I always kind of had this impetus to work for startups. All my friends in LA and in California that I had been really much in contact with in college, a lot of them went into that path, and that was always kind of my North Star in my future. And so I ended up leaving Chanel, which was a hard decision to decide to do because I had a beautiful life, career. All of these things had been so enriching to be at Chanel and to be learning from the most brilliant minds, having opportunities that were honestly super unheard of in the world of luxury and in the world of corporate luxury, to have this kind of a path. And I was so grateful to every single person that had been in this path with me, talking about my colleagues, my advisors, my sponsors, my bosses. Every single one of them gave me tools and an incredible toolbox to bring with me, and knowledge and experience at one of the top luxury brands in the world to actually be able to go further and do what I'm doing today and whatever I'll be doing in the future. Because again, serendipity, and we're always looking for open doors. So who knows what will come next. But this has really marked a super big point in my life where I actually moved from London to Paris and, to Paris in the US. So doing a little bit of a back and forth between the two places to publish my book. And so the publishing of my book of Beyond Luxury, The Promise of Emotion, which was really an amalgamation again of 65 people in the industry. I really tried to kind of match the amount of people I had interviewed on my last book. So 65 people in and around the industry. It was people in the future of tech, in the future of entertainment, in the future of sustainability, in the future of storytelling, in the future of media, and in the future really of what a human experiences mean, which is really the core of where luxury comes in, which is creation, identity, and savoir-faire, which is this tradition and know-how that comes in with luxury companies that they bring. And so this is kind of the intersection of what I was looking at, and especially looking at how luxury could pivot into tech and impact to elevate the industry to another level. And so I published this book. This book brought me to a lot of different places in the world to do book tours and book signings and speaker opportunities in many, many different places. And then one of my really close friends that also has a podcast pushed me to actually have a podcast around my book, which is this podcast called Beyond Luxury, which was basically going to be a spin-off of my book, which I started really doing in my home and started recording at my house with a very, a basic structure. And that was my first season that came out, reaching out to people again, as I had done with my book, which is one of my big passions, to actually be able to interview people and learn from people, and not only learn from research and personal experience, but also from the biggest minds and leaders in the world in their own spaces. And so this was my opportunity to start interviewing in different ways, not for a book, but for a podcast. Creating a truly memorable luxury customer experience goes beyond simply selling a product. It's about crafting moments that resonate with customers long after they leave. By leveraging their unique brand DNA, luxury brands can develop signature experiences that reflect their core values, transforming everyday interactions into something deeply meaningful and memorable. To bring these experiences to life consistently, brands implement fully customized training programs that go beyond skills and knowledge. These programs foster passion, energy, and shared vision with the team, turning every team member into a true brand ambassador. When customers encounter such authenticity and emotion, they become long-term advocates, and employees find greater satisfaction knowing that they're delivering a unique and impactful experience. In the Beyond Luxury episode with Christophe Caïs, we discuss how CXG helps brands design these signature experiences and supports their training programs to align to the brand's message with every customer interaction, making each moment unforgettable. CXG is a proud sponsor of the Beyond Luxury podcast. So the first season did okay. I think that with any type of content creation, you always have to be patient. It did okay, and I was really looking for maybe what the next season would look like and the next episodes that I would record. And I actually, in between, in that moment, again, another very serendipitous moment, one of my other close friends, actually, that also has a podcast that I've been on a couple of times called Eat, Burn, Sleep, that she'll actually be on this season's podcast, so watch out for her, Yal Dalawi. She invited me to her podcast that was recorded at the Apple Podcast Studios, Platoon 7. And she wrote me a very endearing message saying that she was awfully sorry that she would be 45 minutes late to the location. However, I should really, really speak to Denzel Feigeson, which was the person that owned the studio. However, I did not know that he owned this studio. And so when I got here 45 minutes prior to my podcast recording with her, I met Denzel. And long story short, he introduced me to the space, to the studios. He showed me all of the studios that people talked to me about, the people that recorded here on the Platoon 7 label. That is the Apple podcast, well, Apple label in general for music and podcasts. And we toured a little bit around, and then he brought me into the sound room. And again, talking about open doors, no pun intended, because he did open the door for me to come into the sound room. And it took, I think, those 3 seconds of courage in this moment where he asked me, great, now we're in the sound room. Tell me a nice song or something that you want to hear in the sound room. It has one of the best sounds out there. You're going to really enjoy what you hear. And so at that point, I knew that what I was going to do was either a huge hit or a huge miss. But I took his phone and I put on my podcast trailer. And I said, let's listen to this. And so we listened to the podcast trailer. And he looked at me and he was like, this is your podcast? I said, yeah, this is my podcast. He was like, okay, interesting choice that you chose to have the podcast as a sound experience. And I told him, well, I wanted to know what you thought of the sound. And he said, I think it's great, but it could be better. And so then he said, I would love for you to record here if you wanted to. And that's when the relationship with Apple's studio, Platoon 7 started, and that's where we're recording today, and that's where we host our guests today. And so blessed to have Denzel and this amazing Platoon 7 family in the journey of Beyond Luxury podcast, and to be able to have this opportunity. And so this is also what kind of projected Beyond Luxury even further with them on our side. And started doing the second season and then the third. And all of these kind of have come as opportunities after to create more things and open more doors and having more of those 3 seconds of courage, especially looking into different opportunities of consulting, right? And so after the podcast and the book, I was getting a lot of different requests from people in different sorts of companies, some in mass market that wanted to go into the luxury industry, some future cities actually in the Middle East that wanted to understand what the future of luxury looked like, some that were mass market beauty brands that wanted to go into the more premium side, some luxury brands that wanted to go into tech, and so started consulting for them solo. Slowly but surely started creating Beyond Luxury Group, which then grew. And now we have a great team going on with some top talent from big houses like ex-Google and ex-Accenture, bringing on a lot of value. Stop everything you're doing. If you love our podcast and are passionate about the future of luxury, don't forget to hit follow. The more followers we have, the bigger guests we can bring on. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you. Now we have a Substack that comes out every week talking about trends and things that are going on in the industry and how the future of luxury is developing. And when we talk about luxury, same with the podcast, we're really talking about fashion, beauty, arts and culture, and hospitality and travel. And so we're really really talking about all of those topics and where they're going to in the future, hence why we called it and why I called the book Beyond Luxury, because it's not just luxury as we know it today, is luxury today and how it will be in the future and how it could be more than will be in the future, because it's all about projecting new scenarios and testing and having what-if scenarios really lead different creative pathways to where we're going with this industry. And so Beyond Luxury Group started and now is growing really on its own with a lot of different clients and new people joining the team. So it has the podcast, the book, the Substack, the trend reports, and consulting advisory. And then basically I always, when I left Chanel, I knew that I would create something from scratch that was really something that we would build to break something in the industry. And when I say we, I always knew that I'm someone that builds together, that co-creates. And that's always, I think that's why I pushed to, when I was doing innovation projects, even at Chanel, that's why I pushed to create a team around it, because I truly believe that co-creation and collaboration is the best way to create the best concepts and best kind of avenues forward. And this is also why I interview so many people for the book and for the podcast, sharing information and being able to understand what information needs to be shared is very important. And so 6 months ago, almost 8 months ago actually now, started working on a super exciting venture with my co-founder. It's called Memora, and it's a digital auction platform for good where we're mixing the future of tech, of luxury, and impact to come together and really pivot the luxury industry into, or be one of the levers and motors that pivots the luxury industry into a more purpose-driven space. And I won't give you too much more information on that because we will have coming up soon on the podcast, we have another episode fully about Memora with my co-founder. Well, we're really excited to tell you how this concept came about, what it is, and how we're pushing it to fruition, and many more things that will come about in the way. But it's been a super great couple of 35 minutes, I think we've been talking now, to tell you my story and to have you kind of understand a glimpse of where I've come from and where my path has gone and how different to many paths it is, to really hopefully give you a sense of inspiration about everything is possible, even when you've gotten a no of every single luxury and fashion institution out there. You could still come in and still have an incredible pathway. I think it's not the front door nor the back door. It's always the window for me. And so comparison has never worked in my life and has never worked to compare myself to the person next to me, nor to the people that I aspire to be, only getting inspiration from them. And really that is, I think, the key to success is to, and not saying that I hope that there's a lot more things coming towards, and not saying that wherever I am is where success is going to be, but to really feel fulfilled. And I think that that is something I can say, and to feel like you're going and have momentum in some direction. The best thing to do is to get inspired and to surround yourself with people that truly inspire you to get there, and to be creative on your way to that mission. So thank you so much for hearing me out today. Don't forget to listen to other episodes and stay tuned with Beyond Luxury. Thank you so much. For weekly updates on future trends and the latest insights and data on the luxury industry, be sure to follow us on the Beyond Luxury's weekly Substack. Discover our bespoke trend reports and come to us for luxury futures consulting at Beyond Luxury Group.